Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and this is a topic that comes up in comments often and questions I get with other people, even conversations I've had with other people that some of you may know of, like Jody Candido and I were discussing this the other day. And that is just this idea that seems to be prevalent right now in the online bodybuilding world in particular, but some of the people who are doing power building and who are trying to cross over back and forth, is this obsession with DUP, or daily undulating periodization. And I've had a lot of people ask me, is it some sort of superior training method? And no, it isn't. The thing is, I feel like DUP has been overhyped quite a bit. And when I say that, I don't mean that it's a bad system at all. It clearly can produce results. And for those who don't know examples of it, like West Side for Skinny Bastards is an example. The whole West Side system is technically, well, we'd call it concurrent periodization, but it is technically DUP. So are Brandon Campbell's pull, the FAT program. These things are technically daily undulating periodization because you're changing your rep range and your training style day to day throughout the week. Now, there's a lot of different ways to approach this because it's a general category, which is basically just you're doing concurrent style training, and every day that you go in the gym, you're basically changing rep ranges and volumes and having individual days that focus on that. So undulating periodization means you're going through different phases, whether they're max effort work or intensifying work, accumulation phases, which some people want to call hypertrophy, but there's different ways that you can do accumulation. Basically, accumulation means where you have phases to where you are focusing on increasing volume or reps or both. But the main thing is, with most systems of periodization, you have individual days devoted to these things, undulating its days, whereas with a lot of classical periodization, like block periodization, linear periodization, all these things, you have individual sections, either week-long, 2-week, 3-long sections dedicated to an entire training style, and you switch. Whereas with DUP, you're just running them all concurrently and rotating through them day to day, and it might work on a 1-week cycle, it might work on a 2-week cycle. It just depends on the system you're running. But the thing is, like with anything else, it has its limitations and it has its advantages, and I wouldn't say it's necessarily better. Now, for a lot of strength athletes who are pure strength athletes, I may not always be a fan. Or for, say, football players, the thing is, people who have in-season and out-seasons, I think a stronger argument can be made for linear periodization, and some of the best powerlifters throughout history or in other strength athletes, including NFL players, and a lot of really strong individuals I know personally just use standard linear periodization. They do amazing, they kick ass in their sports. And that tends to work best for people who have in-seasons and out-seasons. It tends to work really, really, really well. Stuff like daily undulating periodization or concurrent training, I think, tends to be a little better for people who compete at a moment's notice in whatever they happen to do, because they have all of their training styles accumulated into one, and they don't really go through phases and cycles, and they can just go compete usually whenever. But oftentimes I think it can be, in some cases, at the expense of slightly slower progress, because they're not spending as much time in each phase making continual progress and adapting. And I feel that if you have longer term goals, that linear periodization can produce slightly more muscle gain, slightly more strength over the course of a longer period of time, but you don't stay peaked quite as well for competition. And if you're training multiple things at once, or training for more than one style of competition, it can make programming for your different elements a bit more complicated. So for example, guys like, I know Alex Viada is basically uses more of an undulating stall periodization because he has to do all of his endurance training also, and I never asked him why, but I suspected that it makes it a little easier for him to program all of his endurance work in, because he's not rotating through big blocks and phases and changing in his actual weight training and strength training. So no, it's nothing special about it. There's nothing secret about it. It's just a training tool like anything else. It's a matter of personal preference. It's a matter of training style. So no, I'm not a big fan of undulating periodization, but at the same time, I'm not against it either. I just think that it needs to be used in the appropriate context, and it has been overhyped a bit. And it seems to be one of the current just catchphrases and systems that people think is the newest, greatest thing when it's really been around a long time, and it's not necessarily any more effective than the more traditional methods. Alright guys, well that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time. But let me give you guys a bicep shot before I go. Oh, Mount Bicephus.